have Andy here with Design System Progress and Goals. Andy, please.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me okay? All right, I'm gonna try to do this better than last year because I was speaking like this and people couldn't hear me online, so. All right, well, today we're gonna explore some of the changes that have happened so far with the design system and what we want to do. I don't know, I'm gonna assume that not all of you know about this idea or this initiative, so I'm going to give you a quick recap of what we have been working on. So we started last year. We had this idea that some of the many random ideas that we have in the visual design team, where we wanted to not use 22 pixel icons anymore because they're just simply not standard. Our way of designing them is difficult, and then you have to adapt them to some other sizes. And so I said, I'll give it a shot. Let me try if I can just make some of these icons into 24 pixels. And from then on, we started doing way more. So our change was, at first, we just wanted to change these 22 pixel icons into 24, but I took the chance to redesign them and make them more understandable, more up-to-date, in some ways more standard to the iconography that we use today, and simplify. A lot of our icons, our legacy icons, they are complex because they have a certain way of being built, and it's not always the easiest thing to understand. And so I myself am a certified UX expert as well, and so when I look at icons that don't convey strong meaning, it's really difficult for me to, not criticize and work on that. So we start, so then it was about icons, right? But along the way, I started looking into design systems, and I know they're mostly used for web, but I was thinking if there is a way that we could use these ideas for the desktop. And we picked out just one of those free design systems that you find online, adapted it to some of the ideas that we want to have for the desktop in KDE, in Plasma, and it all started converging. We started a small team called Plasma Next, although it's not a final name, it's just to do this focused work. And through that, a few people have helped us out in defining some of the methodology that we're using, how to build our icons, how to build our colors, our styles, and then eventually we will work through, and I'll show you here in a minute, but we will work through other projects as well that are happening around the Plasma universe that will help us implement some of this. But I have a couple of news for you today, and I'm gonna get to them in a minute, so hang on. Anyway, so I think the overall idea with the design system is that we want to align the world of design with the world of code. And that has never been the case at Plasma. And it makes it really difficult. It's a huge barrier to our design, especially when, we want to execute changes on the desktop that need to look in accordance to what our guidelines say. And so we are using some of this new wave of applications like Penpot or Figma to build some of these graphical assets and some of the back end, like the variables and tokens that you use to build your UI. And we hope that those variables and tokens are then used by the desktop seamlessly. It's the same names, and there is a one-to-one correlation between one and the other. And that way, when we hand over design to our developers, they don't have to really think through much about what the design is trying to tell them. All the parameters are there. Most of this code is just JSON, CSS that you just export and you just give to a developer. And in theory, all they would have to do is just plug in all the backend stuff that they need. So that got us really excited. We started working on this. But by far, the thing that took the longest was our icons, and they still are. So let me tell you a little bit more about what's next here. So I explained some of this right here already. And I'm just going to explain a little bit what progress we've made. So like I mentioned, we started with colors, icons, and so forth. So these are sort of the 5 things that we're doing. And we're going to categorize them as far as, state or location. So when it comes to design-wise, graphical side, our status is like this. We have our colors, we have our typography, we have our shadows and blurs, our grids, and we have our icons. And I put that icon at the end because it's truly not finished, but it's almost there. So as far as design goes, these, by the way, these are called foundations. So these aspects are not everything, as you may notice, like we don't have buttons, sliders, stuff like that, because we need to set a foundation with this first. So the foundational aspect is being worked on, and this is the status. And when it comes to icons, we landed on some kind of anatomy that I'm going to explain, which is different than what we use in Breeze. So first of all, we're using rounded edges. Breeze is more of a sharp angle type of design, and there is good and bad in it. For one, generally in design, shapes that are more rounded are more approachable at a psychological level. And so people feel less threatened by it, and it's easier to derive the meaning of some of these icons that way. It's not, I'm not gonna say this is like earth-shattering, right? Like if you make them rounded, now everybody gets it. That's not how it works. But definitely it helps. And we've also simplified a lot of our lines. We made them more structured. And if you notice, we also have these little cutouts in the end. This is something that sort of came from Breeze, but we landed on this eventually. We're using a circular cutout for some of our icons so that we can express variances in meaning. So for example, this could be something like, the history of your documents that you just read, right? If it was by itself, it would just be a document, but because we have a clock and with a little circular cutout, it just gives it a little bit of a different meaning. And we're using this type of style where we reserve a certain corner of the icon to do this. And then another thing we did too is we're now using grid templates. So these templates are, they're hard to see, I'm sorry, but there are some guiding lines in the background that generally guide your design. They balance your shapes. They help designers figure out where the visual interest should go. And it also provides a very easy way for you to make sure that you have reserved spaces for your icons on the sides, and everything is balanced, basically. So it makes it a lot faster to design. And in products like I was saying, like Penpot and Figma, you can actually componentize all of this. And you can say, you can make icons by just making 3 or 4 components, and you just mix them up through the UI. You don't have to even move pixels around. The system just swaps images for you and generates an icon, which is really fast, very useful, especially when there are people in our audience, for example, that need icons very quickly, and we're trying to really think through how should we design this thing. This helps us a lot. So that's one of the changes. When it comes to Penpot progress, which is basically moving our foundation elements to Penpot, we're kind of there. Penpot is able to support colors, typography, shadows, but not blurs, not yet. Grids and spacing, yes, it can do it. And then our icons, it can and cannot. So some icons work no problem in Penpot, while others don't. And this is still the case. I mentioned this last year as well. The Penpot team is working really hard. They're moving their UI, their designer window into WebAssembly. And that should make Penpot much faster, and it should include a lot of these features that don't allow us to reproduce the same shapes that we made in Figma in Penpot. So, work in progress, but the other stuff is done. And not only that, very recently, Penpot actually worked with a developer of this pretty famous plugin called Token Studio. And in Figma, Token Studio is a plugin. In Penpot, it's built in. And that allows us to basically codify all of our graphical resources with token names that another application can consume. Makes it much faster, and it's all native. You don't have to play around with some of these things. When it comes to system implementation, this is just going to be a little bit stuck. And it's not a problem. It's just that we're working on other projects that are very important, and until that happens, we just can't think of implementation yet. So in those cases, this is the number of icons we've made. It's a lot. And I'm sure I'm going to end up with arthritis one day, but this is how many we've made. It's a lot. But what I like about it is that, again, these applications like Penpot, they are able to really maximize your output. For the most part, and I'm not taking away anything from other designers that have helped me out, but most of these ones I've made myself. But the easy thing about it is that you can just componentize and you just build your icons very quickly. They're repeatable shapes anyway, so a lot of icons. And additional to this, we have, as we think about how a design system can plug into Plasma, we've come up with some guideline ideas that we should keep in mind. So, for example, in Plasma today, when you need a monochrome icon, you add a suffix, like dash symbolic. It's not widely used, but it's there. So if there are specific needs, for example, let's say you have a toolbar that really needs a very specific icon, you can use suffixes for that. So we've developed this guideline to basically tell others, if you really need something very specific, use that. We also decided not to support third-party icons anymore. So what was happening in the past with Breeze is we were taking our icons from, like Firefox, like we even have Adobe PDF in there, and we redesigned them to look like Breeze. That's not necessarily a problem, except that sometimes some of these icons are copyrighted, and they don't allow for derivative work. And we don't want to run the risk that someone says, hey, stop using our icon, or they would want to enforce their icons on us. So it's better that we don't support them. At the end of the day, a lot of these applications and third parties, proprietary stuff, they have their own designers. They can provide their icons, and we don't have to touch them or reinterpret them. And in fact, it actually kind of affects their brand too, right? If you're changing their icon in another place, that probably is not the best idea. And also, another guideline that we developed is, and this is a habit, that we need to work on, but as developers, sometimes when you're developing your applications, you have the desire to use icon whatever. When you do that, I think what we see most often is that you just find something that works. Like we were just talking about this during lunchtime, like you just find a bell icon, but maybe that's not the use that was intended for that icon. So our intention is that going forward, when developers need icons, the habit now should be to submit a bug ticket or a request ticket, asking for what would be the most appropriate icon for this function or that function. That way the design team can provide that guidance and they don't have to think through it and possibly select icons that don't apply or that come from the wrong collection of icons in our system. So a lot of stuff is happening here. We also just had a little discussion about how to organize our icons. Today we follow a standard for the open desktop, free desktop, sorry. Yep. And that has plus and minuses, right? So maybe we would want to rethink the way that we organize our icons as well. Anyway, so that's that. But the other part is this is what I was trying to get at earlier. Our team member over here, Ariane, is working on this new engine, theming engine called Union. And this is going to basically unify, for lack of a better word, all of our frameworks, and you just basically request your UI from the system. And the reason why we are tied to it is because it would be Union in the future that would communicate with the design system to receive the tokens that we develop. And so, of course, it's moving along really great. I watch the development all the time. But there will be a point when we will have to come together to talk about how unified styling works with plugging in a design system to it. And I'm just excited for that time because I think it'll really show the magic and the powerful aspect of all this work. So, but still, we cannot implement because we want Union to be ready first. Now, today, I'm going to give you some freebies, as it is open source. And I'm going to release 3 elements of the design system, or provided by the design system, that you can test on your own side. Now, I'm going to caution you to be, one, this is not ready for prime time. It's not ready for production. This is for experimental purposes only, for your inspection, how you like it, how you don't like it, and we're asking for feedback. I haven't put this in a repo yet or in GitLab because it's not ready. It's still receiving a lot of work. But I'm going to give you these 3 things. The first one is going to be a color theme, dark and light, based on the design system. We're calling our new design Ocean. So this is going to be Ocean Light and Ocean Dark. Now, these are just color schemes that we put together based on some of the design system mockups that we've made for some time and the colors that we selected to be part of our UI. So you'll get that. And you guys know how to apply color schemes, right? Yeah? Okay. Not everyone at once. Okay, cool. The next thing is going to be a plasma style. And this one, I will tell you right now, it's a little bit more finicky, but happy to be pointed out the feedback about it, but you'll get it. And we're going to get you a plasma style. And then I'm going to release the icon pack. So you're gonna get those almost 8,000 icons in a little tarball, and you can just apply them on your system. I think you should expect that there will be bugs. Don't think this is bug-free. This is not ready. We're hoping to get more feedback from you. That's the point of it. But you can see the icons, and you can see how they work for you. And if you want to report any bugs, you're welcome to take a picture for this QR code and let us know. All right, that's it. That's the presentation.
Thank you. So, as usual now, if there are any questions and you want some answers to them, we have one over there, actually. Get you this mic.
Oh, I'll take it, yeah.
What do you see, maybe when can Penpot be a featureful replacement for Figma for our use case, basically, to work with it and work with it like a broader community?
I didn't catch the question well, so can you repeat, please?
So when do you think Penpot will be ready to use as a broader community tool set for designing?
So Penpot supports most of the design system today, but there are some, I would say, basic shape control elements that Penpot doesn't do the same way that other applications do. So they know about these problems, and they have received feedback not just from Plasma, but from other people that work in their system. And they said that their primary goal this year was to move to WebAssembly for the editor window. And then after that, they'll address all of these smaller, like shape control bugs or, Boolean operation problems that Penpot can sometimes have. And as far as I can see, because I'm following some of their WebAssembly tickets and also our tickets about shape control, they expect to do WebAssembly this year. So hopefully before the end of the year. And then the other ones about, the shape operations, they don't have a date, but their tickets say that they will soon follow. And the dependency is releasing the editor window in WebAssembly, basically. So I'm hopeful that I would love to just move all of our assets to Penpot, because when we used Figma, well, for one, Figma is proprietary. It has a free tier, but at the end of the day, it's proprietary. And the other part of it is that Figma is not as approachable for everybody. We used a design system that came from a free set of components that were provided online, and so they have a lot of branding in them that has nothing to do with what we want to use them for. So I would love for us to just basically get Penpot ready and just remove all that branding and stuff that we don't need and only leave the components that we actually use. But it's coming along in some way. I mean, I started working on buttons a couple of weeks ago, trying to build buttons that were in Figma but in Penpot. So that's kind of like the second layer of design system. So yeah, that would be the answer.
Cool, thanks. Do we have another question? There's no questions from the internet, for better or worse.
All right.
Cool, thanks,
Cool,
Andy.
thanks, Victoria.
Cool. Very good. Thank you, Andy. So, yeah, please go ahead. The next talk that's happening in here will be what's been happening in the end of 10, presenting a cross-community initiative to bring Linux to Windows users in about 20 minutes. We're done pretty early. So go have fun, or stay here, or I'm going to put the mic down.